The 49ers got a big win versus the Dallas Cowboys, but which 49ers are stock up? Which 49ers made the biggest impact in this game? We're going to talk about that and more in this episode of 49ers Cutback.
From the alley-oop to Kezar to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way. From off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Time to talk about some stock up 49ers, but also what Kyle Shanahan had to say in his comments today to the media. He gave some updates on some key individuals for the 49ers as far as who's going to be coming back, when they're going to be coming back. We're going to get through all of that, and this is going to be a fun one because we're coming off a big San Francisco 49ers win over the Dallas Cowboys. Was it as pretty as everyone wanted? No, but this is what you had to have happen. You had to win the football game. You had to make sure you improved to 4-4, and now you can go into the bye week and look at it as a 9-game season. We've got to make sure we get to where we want to get, and we got to play well in these 9 games. But being zeroed out at 500 means that's what it is. How many wins can you get in those 9? And you're going to have key players coming back, and we've always known that's the case. So I want to go through a couple of the key things that Kyle Shanahan said in the presser before we get to the stock up 49ers, which, there were some really good ones, but when Kyle Shanahan kind of provides some updates, we want to talk about it. And the number one is that Christian McCaffrey's practice window expects to be opened next week, and they're hoping to have Christian McCaffrey lining up and playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Week 10 matchup. Kyle said he has no setbacks, so it looks like we're on track, but he's going to hit it hard this week while we're gone and kind of simulate some practice stuff for himself. As long as it all goes good, hopefully we'll get him back in practice next week. And this is what I've been talking about. It's an important time because Christian McCaffrey's health is going to determine how the 49ers approach the trade deadline. If Christian McCaffrey is healthy and ready to go and will play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 49ers might not address running back as far as the trade market. But if Christian McCaffrey goes out there and practices, simulates practice, and is not looking like he feels comfortable or there's some worry, they could address running back with some guys out on the open market, guys like Raheem Mostert or even like a Miles Sanders. And you just go out and you find someone potentially that you can plug and play with your running backs you have right now, especially with Jordan Mason dealing with the AC sprain again. So 49ers have question marks. Christian McCaffrey could answer a lot of those questions really, really good. And Shanahan said, we knew it was going to be at least a month, and they shut him down for a while, and now we build him up slowly. Things have been going really well, so now it's going to be nice to get him back, hopefully. Now, when they asked Kyle about his workload when he comes back, he said the expectation is to see how often he is able to, how he is doing when he gets back and evaluate him as it goes. I mean, of course, the hope is everything just goes back to normal and it's perfect. That's what we're striving for, but you've got to play that out smartly, and you've got to evaluate that each day. We will see with our own eyes what he tells us. That'll be something we're constantly working through. So it's going to be a wait-and-see approach, but it looks like as long as everything goes good this week, so a big week for Christian McCaffrey, off week for everyone else, big week for McCaffrey. If it goes well, Christian McCaffrey's practice window will be open next week with the expectation that he will play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 10. Huge news for the San Francisco 49ers. And there was more big news that came out of this too, but please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. I really appreciate that. It goes a long way. And if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Basketball fans, it's that time of the year. The NBA is back from opening tip to buzzer beaters. Bet Online has you covered with the best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. BetOnline is every stat, matchup, breakdown, and live odds you bet on during games. And it's not just NBA. BetOnline has odds on everything from football to the World Series to NHL to political props. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. So also, there was a Jawan Jennings update, and Kyle Shanahan said he fully expects Jawan Jennings to be back after the bye. So McCaffrey, Jawan Jennings, it looks like very promising news for the 49ers, at least on the injury front of the guys that were kind of out there a little bit. Now, he did mention Dre Greenlaw, and he said that is a long ways away from determining still. He said that's more of a week-to-week thing coming out of the bye where they will determine if they are planning on opening that window. So for Dre Greenlaw, it's still been looking like the end of November, and I think that's still the case. That's a realistic timeline. End of November to the beginning portions of December are probably when we can expect Dre Greenlaw back. So good news on McCaffrey, good news when it comes to Jawan, and kind of expected news when it comes to Dre Greenlaw. Now, injuries coming out of the game, of course, D. Winters suffered a concussion. He is in concussion protocol, but now because of the bye week, he should have sufficient time to be able to clear concussion protocol and get back as long as, everything goes right. So Winters did deal with the concussion, and we'll see how things go and progress heading into next week. Running back Jordan Mason did re-aggravate that shoulder. We talked about it a little bit earlier. So he's going to be dealing with that. And Deebo Samuel sustained a rib and oblique strain. So they are going to be evaluated after the bye week. But Kyle Shanahan didn't have further updates on them. Cornerback Renardo Green suffered an ankle sprain, and he's going to be day-to-day. That's good news. When you have an ankle sprain and you're listed as day-to-day, it usually means you have a low ankle sprain. And when you have a low ankle sprain, your chances of coming back right away are good. High ankle sprain, 4 to 6 weeks. So that day-to-day compared to week-to-week is huge. So it looks like Renardo Green dodged a bullet, and he'll be ready to go. And we're going to be talking about Renardo Green in just a second. Chris Conley is going to be week-to-week with a hamstring injury. That's not good for Chris Conley. 49ers are going to be having players come back, potentially players coming off the IR, guys like Christian McCaffrey, Talanoa Hufanga. And if you are not healthy, you could run risk of heading to the IR. So we'll keep an eye out. Conley has been a consistent special teams and good blocker for the 49ers this season. So that is big. Now, when it came to Mooney Ward and why he was out of the game for a little bit, they said it was a little bit of tightness in his groin on one drive, but they checked it out and no issue. So he went back in and everything was fine. So that gets us kind of caught up on the injuries. There was no talks about Talanoa Hufanga. There were no talks about John Feliciano. So those things are going to have to play out. And of course, the 49ers are trying to figure everything out as they go into their bye week. But let's get into the stock up 49ers. Ricky Pearsall, for me, is the first guy I want to talk about. It was stock up. And it was funny because when you watched last week, there were comments from people saying, hey, he didn't create separation. Yet when you watch the All-22 film, which I break down over on Patreon every week, you saw separation on plays. There were times where Ricky Pearsall got open. It just didn't work out. Either Brock didn't see him or potentially Brock didn't have time to see him. And so there are some things that he had to work out, Pearsall, about getting to his landmarks and things like that. But for the most part, you saw opportunities. Well, guess what? He made the most of his opportunities in this game. He had 4 catches for 38 yards, and he was only one of 2 wide receivers who had catches. It was Ricky Pearsall, and it was Deebo Samuel. The only other wide receiver that was even targeted was Chris Conley, and he was unable to make the catch on a low throw. So you see that Ricky Pearsall was an impact player for the 49ers in this game, and it wasn't just through the air, but he was also able to use his legs, and they had put him through motion and kind of fake jet sweeps to him during the game. Well, then finally they gave him one in the second half, and he carried it for 39 yards. A really good read, set George Kittle's block, went inside of it, and had enough speed to get down the sideline and have a really good gain on the play. Pearsall looks comfortable within this offense. You know that the more he gets to work with Brock Purdy, and the timing's going to get even better. And Pearsall talked about it. Since he's been back, he's only had 4 full-speed practices with Brock Purdy. Because when you're in the game time during the season, you don't have time to go through full-time practices. A lot of it is walkthroughs, and a lot of it is half speed because they're trying to keep everyone healthy and just going through maintenance and making sure everyone's prepared to play the game. So Pearsall hasn't had as much opportunity since he's been back from the gunshot to be able to get that chemistry with Brock Purdy. But I thought they had a pretty good rapport in this football game, and Brock Purdy looked comfortable throwing to Ricky, and Ricky ran some good routes. Stock up Ricky Pearsall. Only in week 2 of his season, and I felt like he came on the scene, he looked confident, and he made the plays that were asked of him. And when you get 4 balls going your way and you make 4 catches, you're doing your job. And so I thought he made contested catches. He made open catches. He got routed corners to get open on an out pattern to get a catch. So it was a good effort from Ricky Pearsall. I was definitely very excited about what he did. Now, one of his rookie class, and that's what's crazy, a lot of the stock up 49ers are going to come from his rookie class. But Isaac Guerrero, we talked about Jordan Mason going down with the AC sprain again, and that was early on in the football game. And we've seen the 49ers offense kind of slow down when Jordan Mason's not out there. Well, not so fast this time. Isaac Guerrero came in there, and he looked comfortable. He looked confident, and he was absolutely exploding through holes. And when you look up and you see that a player has rushed 14 times for 85 yards at 6.1 yards per carry, he's doing something. And it wasn't like it was a one-run thing that changed his average. This was a consistent effort from Isaac Guerrero. He was running well inside. When it wasn't there, he was willing to bounce it outside, use his speed to create extra opportunities. So it felt like he was taking what was there, he was trusting his blocking and making the proper reads and runs. Was it perfect? No. But once again, it's highlighting how much better Isaac Guerrero's getting. Then in the postgame, he was over on NBC Bay Area as part of their postgame show, and he talked about the fact that he realized that there's a different speed from college to the NFL, and so he had to kick it into high gear. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I think he was being real patient, kind of the way he did in college, and then exploding when the time was right. Well, now it was more pedal to the metal, get to where you need to get to. You need to beat guys to the spot. And I thought we seen that on display. So what we're seeing is we've got really good coaching. They're coaching him up, Coach Bobby Turner, getting him coached up on what his line should be, what his landmarks are, where he should go, when he should press things, when he should get his foot in the ground and go upfield. And then you've got a player that's taking it in. He's being a sponge. He's learning, and he's adjusting his game to the NFL style in the NFL game. And I think that's good news. I think sky's the limit for Isaac Guerrero. The good news is we got great production in this game. He was able to take advantage of a bad Dallas Cowboys run defense, and that's what you have to do. You have to make sure you get it going, and I thought he did a really good job in this football game. It's the speed, it's the power, it's the combination of both, and he gets his first touchdown of his career on an inside play inside the red zone, and we've talked consistently about red zone problems for the San Francisco 49ers. Not so much in this one. They're 3 of 4, and really the last one was Guerrero sliding down inside the 5-yard line to run the clock out. They could have easily went 100% inside the red zone. Guerrero just had to run it in. And how about Guerrero? For a second time in his young career has turned down 2 touchdowns. It seemed to believe him more now about the long one against Seattle compared to what I would have thought the way he handled this one. This is another opportunity. He could have got in the end zone, and he didn't. He went ahead and slid down and ended that football game for the San Francisco 49ers. So Isaac Guerrero, big stock up. I thought this was his best performance, even though he had the explosive against Seattle. This one was consistent. This one was good. And he also caught the ball in the backfield, which we've seen him do for a couple weeks now. I think he's kind of coming into his own, and he should be able to help this football team when they need him. Now, how about Malik Mustafa? I got stock up for Malik. I mean, Malik just feels like every single play, every single quarter, every single game, he gets better. And we see him fly around and make tackles, which he did against Kansas City. But in this one, it wasn't just the tackling. It wasn't just being where he's supposed to be. But how about a pass defense on a 6'7" tight end in the back of the end zone? And he's 5'10". He could have phoned it in. Number one, he jumps up and he times it perfectly, gets his hand on the ball. That's what knocks it loose initially. Then the tight end is about to make the catch, only for Mustafa to continue to fight and continue to find the ball and knock it away. It was a tremendous performance. And I think what we're seeing from Malik Mustafa is a player that is figuring out how to play within this 49ers defense. He's feeling comfortable with his role within the defense, and he's going out there and he's making plays. And he's flying up and helping in the run game. He's doing pretty good in coverage. So very excited about the continued elevation in the game of Malik Mustafa. And it starts kind of bringing up some things about here in Jair. But Jair Brown played well as well. Both of these safeties played good in this football game. And when Jair Brown, when you're talking about what he did in this game, I mean, minus the play where he absolutely runs over Renardo Green and causes a CeeDee Lamb touchdown, Jair Brown had one of his best games, if not his best game of the season. He had the interception on the opening drive of the Dallas Cowboys, playing over the top, comes over, helps Renardo Green, gets an interception. Great play. He had 4 solo tackles. He was flying up and making tackles. That's one thing about him and Malik. When they pull the trigger and they decide that they're going to get downhill and make a tackle, they absolutely explode and run through people. That's what you want. So young players playing tough for the 49ers and Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown. And I think both of them were stock up. And that's saying a lot because for Jair, I felt like over the last couple weeks, it was like mistake. And I thought even though he had a couple mistakes in this game, the good outweighed the bad. Now, one of those mistakes was definitely picking Renardo Green off and causing a touchdown pass to CeeDee Lamb down the stretch. Those types of things can't happen. But I thought there was enough good there to look at it as a positive light and just say, hey, if we could have taken this one negative play away, he is definitely trending in the right direction. With all the conversation about Hufanga coming back, how about that? Both young safeties doing a lot better, and Jair's had an up and down season. So I thought it was really good for Jair Brown in this football game. Stock up Jair, stock up Malik Mustafa, which means stock up for the 49ers safety room, who should be getting Hufanga back hopefully in a few weeks. Now let's talk about Renardo Green. Renardo Green has now been playing in place of Isaac Yiadom for the last 2 weeks. Actually, I think it started in Seattle, but Renardo Green, that was because of Charvarius Ward, has been doing this for Yiadom now. Fantastic. So Green, you just don't hear his name very much in football games. It's because he doesn't make mistakes. Now, last week against Kansas City, he had a little bit of a coverage breakdown, gave up a catch to Noah Gray, the tight end. But in this one, I mean, he was phenomenal. In fact, he gave up 2 catches in this football game. He had the team best 91.3 PFF grade because he allowed 2 catches for 27 yards and a TD. But the TD is not exactly his fault, is it? Jair Brown takes him off, picks him, and then you get the touchdown over the top to CeeDee Lamb. So you see that Renardo Green's been playing so good. And his coverage has been so good, people aren't even throwing on him. When they did throw on him, he made plays. And so we're seeing that Renardo Green's coming into his own. And boy, is that looking like another really good draft pick for the 49ers. Of course, they took him in the 2nd round. A lot of people wanting the 49ers to take an offensive lineman in that situation. They take Green. It was criticized then. I think everyone's loving it now because that cornerback room with Charvarius Ward, Deommodore Lenoir, and Renardo Green is looking really, really stout for this 49ers defense. And you got to love this. Renardo Green only giving up 2 catches. Well, he had CeeDee Lamb on him sometimes. And he was still able to hold his own. Nice young player playing well. And I think if you look at it, it's a major upgrade over what you were getting last year from Ambry Thomas. In fact, Isaac Yiadom is a major upgrade over what you were getting from Ambry Thomas. So cornerback play for the 49ers going through the roof. And one of the reasons why is Renardo Green, and he played fantastic in this game. Now, he is going to be dealing with the ankle injury. Let's see what happens. Yiadom had to come in the game down the stretch. He did a pretty good job, but Renardo is the guy that I know the 49ers love, his ability to play man coverage, ability to play in zone. He can move around, play inside, outside. I mean, really versatile. Him and Deommodore Lenoir are the most versatile corners the 49ers have, and he has been fantastic. Plus, he'll come up and make a tackle and stick you. So I love that. Now let's talk about Demo. Deommodore Lenoir continues to shine. In fact, I think Deommodore Lenoir has been the 49ers' best secondary player this season. I don't think it's really been close. And he was good again in this game. He came up with the big INT where he talked about he recognized from his film study that it was going to be a sprint out. Dak did sprint out. He's looking for CeeDee Lamb. And Demo said, hey, yeah, I baited him. I made it look, it's one of those times where he's kind of put in a vertical stretch and he made him think he was going to come up. and he went ahead and sagged and made the interception. It was a big turnover in the football game, and that's what you're getting from Demo, a playmaker. But it's not just in how he plays against the pass, but he also had the best defensive run grade. So he was playing really good against the run. And if you watch my breakdowns on Patreon, we talk about this every week. He plays it like a third linebacker when he's in the nickel, and he fills and he flashes when he goes to make plays. He is phenomenal at it. He's by far the 49ers' best nickel they've had in a long time. I mean, I loved K'Wan Williams, but Deommodore Lenoir is better than the production they got from K'Wan Williams. No longer is the slot fade a real problem for the 49ers. No longer can they get movement with a bigger wide receiver. Demo steps up and play in and play out at a extremely high level. So you're seeing the cornerback room playing well. But notice, Tarvarius Ward's the only one I didn't have on stock up 49ers from the secondary in this matchup. But I thought that Tarvarius Ward played good. In fact, I think over the last 2 weeks, he's gotten better. This game was better than last week. I thought he had a couple of penalties that, one of them I'm not so happy with. The other one, he got a little grabby, and he put the onus on the ref, and the ref made the call. So I think Tarvarius Ward's not all the way back to where he was last year, but I do think he's trending in the right direction. And if the 49ers can get good play from their entire secondary, they are going to absolutely be tough to beat this season. And, but Demo, he's solid, man. I'm loving what Demo's been bringing to this football team. Now I'm going to talk about a unit before I talk about a couple more players. And I'm going to go special teams. Stock up 49ers special teams. And then we knew they needed to have it. The Dallas Cowboys came into this game the number one special teams unit in DVOA. Number one. They had been doing it all right. And the 49ers came in 31. And they had been making mistakes after mistakes. Even when they made good plays, they would also have these huge mistakes that would negate the great play. So what were the expectations coming in this game? I don't know. But I did know what I wanted from this special teams unit. And that was to play a safe game. To make sure you just took care of the football and didn't allow any special teams blunders. Well, guess what? They did. Minus a Andres Carlson kick out of bounds, the 49ers special teams played very, very good. They kept Kevontae Turpin, the best return guy in the NFL, in check. And that was without them kicking kickoffs out of the end zone consistently. They were kicking it to him and letting him return it. And the return coverage the kickoff coverage held up. They were making tackles. Now, are they giving up a little bit more yards than you'd like? Yeah, I mean, you don't want them to get to the 32, 33-yard line consistently. That's not going to rate you as one of the best special teams units in the league. But what they did was improve, make sure they were in their lanes, make sure there wasn't a place for Turpin to get loose with that electric speed to get a touchdown. So they won on kickoff. They did a good job. In fact, Dallas had 2 penalties on special teams to the 49ers 0. So they won in penalty comparison, which I thought they did a really good job. And what's crazy is Aubrey didn't get a ball into the landing zone, so they actually had one drive where it went out to the 40, negating what Carlson had done as far as mistakes. So it was a good job by the 49ers. Carlson was perfect on field goals, perfect on extra points. Mitch Wisnowski had another ball down inside the 5-yard line by Ronnie Bell. There was a concerted effort from the 49ers special teams unit, both players and coaches. You could tell there was an emphasis during the week to make sure special teams was good. You could see the players they were putting out there were going out and executing, whether that was Isaac Yedem playing the gunner on punt, which he did a good job, or D. Winters and some of the linebackers making some key tackles in this football game. It was a good showing, and that's exactly what they needed and exactly what they can build on. Next week, keep the onus and the emphasis on special teams. Complementary football was the conversation after the game. Isaac Guerrero was pushing that, and George Kittle reiterated that. So this is something they know they need to do, but I thought it was showing that it is possible. The special teams is not a lost cause, and they stepped up in this game, and they didn't make mistakes, and they helped the 49ers win. If we'd had a special teams mistake, the 49ers would have lost this football game, but they didn't, and so we got to give them props. 2 things the 49ers did really well, played good on special teams, and did not turn over the football, winning the turnover battle. When you do that, you are going to win football games. What do we talk about every single week for key matchups? What you got to do well. You got to win on third down. Check. 49ers 50% on third down, 8 of 16 against a Dallas Cowboys defense that was allowing third down conversions at 33%. Very, very good. What else do you got to do? Win the turnover battle. 49ers +2 in turnovers. Dallas continues to turn over the football, and the 49ers got other balls out on the ground, able to knock a ball away from Ferguson. They got a couple of the other balls down. They just weren't able to get on top of those. So 49ers definitely getting it done when it comes to turnovers. And then red zone. 49ers go 3 of 4, and we know how I feel about the last one where they're kneeling down. But they did a very good job in the red zone. Now, I wish the red zone defense would have been able to match that. That's something they still got to work on. But to win in those areas puts you in position to win the football game. And I thought they did it in this one. So special teams unit stepping up and outplaying the number 1 special teams in the entire league. This is what they got to do. I'm not asking the 49ers to be the number 1 unit. What I'm asking for them to do is to not be one of the bottom half. Start playing at top 15 caliber special teams, and you will help this football team a lot. So good job by the 49ers. Now, a couple more players I want to talk about. Number 1, I want to talk about Malik Collins. Malik Collins had 5 pressures in 31 pass rush snaps, continuing to play really well this season. He's been phenomenal for this 49ers defensive line, and they absolutely have to have it. Javon Hargrave injured. Now, John Lynch went on KNBR and said Javon Hargrave may potentially come back for the playoffs. At least that's a hope. It's not like it's a done deal, but until then, Malik Collins has got to get it done. Jordan Elliott has to get it done. And they've been having some struggles for some of their backup defensive tackles. It wasn't a very good game for Kalia Davis. He struggled for a second week in a row. It wasn't a great game for Evan Anderson. He struggled in this one as well as far as PFF grade. We'll go back and we'll see. I thought that, you never know for sure until you go back and watch the film. But, I thought that they played, I think those guys have struggled against the run, especially Kalia Davis. And we'll see how that goes. But to see Malik Collins do what he did is very impressive. Generating 5 pressures from inside with a pass rush grade at 79.5. It's tremendous, and you need that interior pressure. And what was great is they were also getting a pressure from Sam Okuwanu from the inside. So 49ers over the last 3 weeks have put Sam Okuwanu in the Arden Key role. It was meant for Yetur Gross-Matos, but Gross-Matos got injured in the preseason, came back, and then got re-injured and back on IR. So the 49ers had to have someone else man that role because right now, as far as pass rushers on the interior, it's Malik Collins. Jordan Elliott, not a great pass rusher. Kalia Davis hasn't looked the same since preseason after his injury. You look at a guy like Evan Anderson, that's not what his game is, and Kevin Givens was out with injury. So you turn to Sam Okuwanu, and you have to get it. And Okuwanu did such a good job. Him and Malik Collins both had 5 pressures in this football game, only outmatched by Nick Bosa, who also had a good game. So it's stock up Sam Okuwanu and stock up Malik Collins, who are both putting pressure on the quarterback. And that's the package that they're using on third down with Sam Okuwanu. When it comes to run game, Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, they're battling. I think that Jordan Elliott hasn't been as good against the run as I think the 49ers were hoping. Why they might address defensive tackle in the trade market, I don't know. We'll see. There could be a few guys that the 49ers go out and potentially call about and see if they can bring a defensive tackle in. I'm not sure the depth at the position really has illustrated that you don't need to make a move. You could upgrade the starter, and if you bring a player that could start next to Malik Collins, that's a trickle-down effect. Next thing you know, Jordan Elliott and Kevin Givens are your rotation, and that would definitely change up the 49ers defensive line. Now, Bosa continued to be great. Of course, he had the sack. He had the game-high 6 pressures, but he also had a really good pass rush grade. He was second behind Malik Collins with a 74.5. So you got to give credit to the 49ers defensive line for putting pressure on Dak Prescott, forcing some bad throws. And ultimately, that's what you're trying to get them to do is just rush Dak. When you marry that rush with good coverage, you're going to have opportunities for turnovers. The 49ers definitely did. Dak Prescott almost served up another one. Fred Warner knocked it away. Lenore probably would have had a second pick of the game. And so you had that. You had other balls on the ground. It was a good performance for the 49ers when it came to what's going on. Now, let's talk about a couple of guys that played better in this football game that I'm not ready to give stock up status to. but it's at least promising that they played a little bit better. How about Jake Brendel with a 70 grade in his 68 snaps at center? That is not the norm when it comes to Jake Brendel. That is his highest graded, or he was the 49ers' highest graded offensive lineman in this game, and that was his second highest grade since week 4, where he got a 73.5. I just wanted to give him a little bit of credit because he gets enough criticism, but when he plays well, you got to give him some credit, and he did play well in this matchup. Now, of course, we've got to talk about George Kittle, who had a 90.2 grade, was absolutely fantastic in this football game, was lights out when it came to catching the football. I mean, anytime you can go 6 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown, including a 21-yard average, when you're targeted 7 times and you make 6 catches, you know you're doing something right. So Kittle was obviously the best player on National Tight End Day. It was really good to see him come out there. He always shows up against the Cowboys. He always shows up on prime time, and he did in this football game. And just a little bit of a shout out to him. I mean, I thought he did a really good job. And Deebo Samuel, he wasn't fully healthy. You could tell he had to come in and out, but he had 4 catches for 71 yards in this game, and he could have had a lot more. He left some meat on the bone, dropped one. I'll call the screen. He dropped that one. That one probably could have been explosive. And then he had the 73-yard touchdown called back on the penalty from Eric Sauber, which would have been absolutely huge. And just imagine that. If you don't take that away, those 2 plays, he could have went for over 200 yards. That's how it was. And the 49ers run game did go over 200 yards. How about that? 49ers, 36 carries for 223 yards. Garendo and Brock Purdy are your 2 biggest rushers in this football game. Purdy, 8 for 56, doing what he needed to do, including the 1 touchdown on the quarterback sneak, which was really good to see. So it was a great game. We had the stock up 49ers, including Sam Okawanu and Malik Collins. I want to make sure I remember to say that. And Malik Collins has played so good all year. I don't know if he's really a stock up guy, but I wanted to mention him because I think he just continues to bring pressure from the inside, and that's what they need. But how about the young players for the 49ers? Ricky Pearsall, Isaac Garendo, Malik Mustafa, Renardo Green, Jair Brown, Sam Okawanu. Those are just some of the young guys we're talking about that are stepping up. This 49ers team has a great mix of veterans with young players, and it's really fun to see. So stock up Niners. Let me know if I missed somebody. Let me know in the comment section. Let me know if you agree with who I had to stock up 49ers. Really curious. Thanks for checking out the episode. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. This episode was brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.